Hi friends, welcome to Law Chat with Girija. I'm Girija Patel, your host for Law Chat, and I am so excited for you to join us today. I have some amazing guests on Law Chat, and they're here to share their experiences and entrepreneurial journey with us, and through their storytelling, mentorship with us, because that is the whole point. We are all entrepreneurs and we're all on a journey, and learning from one another is the best way for us to move forward in our journey as well. And I have amazing guests who are so willing and ready to share their stories with us, their challenges and their victories and their achievements, and also their mindset. I just can't wait to share that with you, and I also just can't wait to have that conversation with them. It's such a privilege to have each and every one of them here with us today, and also it's such a privilege to have you listening in and tuning in. So let's dive in to Law Chat with Girija. Hi friends, welcome to Law Chat with Girija. Today I'm going to be just me on the show, sharing some quick tips about the law and about your business. But today is about the business, right? And because we all need some business tips here and there all the time. So tell me something. Have you ever tried to pitch to somebody to be either a conference speaker or be an educator, or pitch to someone to be a podcast guest, or for them to be a guest on your show if you have a podcast, or pitch to somebody for a business loan or for anything like that? Have you tried those pitches? Have you tried to sell your business in such a way where you are going to be in the center of attention and branding yourself in a way where you are speaking, or in a way where you're engaging with the audience of somebody else's? Well, today I'm going to share with you some of my tips on how to pitch yourself to a conference, to be a speaker or to be an educator, or how to be a podcast guest, or how to get guests on your podcast as well. And then so much more. So the idea is that pitching is somewhat similar in all areas in that sense when you are requesting to be a guest somewhere or to be an educator somewhere. But there's so much more involved in the back end of it than just the front end of it, which is saying, hey, I'd love to do this for you. Because while that's true, but you really need to make sure that the back end part of it is done properly. And there is some research there. So that way you have done your due diligence. But then in addition to that, the other person also knows that you're involved, you're invested, and you also know something about them, that you're not just walking into it cold turkey. So even if you are applying for a job, hey guys, this would apply to you too, right? Okay, let's get started. So number one, research. Such a pet peeve of mine. I like to research, or at least my team is researching, because it is so essential to know who you want to be associated with you. And what I mean by that is that make sure when you're researching them, you're looking at what all they're involved in, what their values are, what do they stand for, and who they are, what they do, what are they selling, what services are they selling, what products are they selling, and even what are some of the education that they're giving out there? What kind of education do they give? Does it align with your education that you're giving? And also know their audience, also know the community that they're reaching out to, the community that they speak to. In addition, know the audience that you are speaking to as well. So where do you start this research? You can start this research on social media. Social media is such a great spot to start. Go do the hashtag research on Facebook or on Instagram or on Google even. And you'll find all of these different, conferences that you might be looking for, or people or businesses that you're looking for, in order to connect with them, in order to align and collaborate with them. And so look at LinkedIn also. So social media is a great starting point for this research. Other ways is that once you have finally found or gathered a list of people that you want to reach out to, look at their websites, read about them, Google them, read any publications that they've written. If they have a podcast, listen to their podcast also. Listen to the kind of people that are coming onto their podcast, and the guests that are coming on their podcast. And if they have any guests on their podcast, and also what kind of education are they bringing to the table, and who is their audience, whether it's a conference, whether it's a community that's built on Facebook or some other place, or whether it's a podcast or something similar in that nature. Who is their audience? Who is their community? What are they looking for? And is it a community that is similar to yours, or is a community that is different from yours? And so these are all the different things that you're researching and different ways to research as well. Other ways to research is go to some podcasts that you love and see who their guests are. And either you can invite those guests to be on your podcast, or you can actually pitch to those guests to be on their podcast also. Because believe it or not, if you are really connected to a podcast or to a conference and you are seeing that their speakers or their guests are something that intrigues you, more likely than not, you might be a good fit for them as well as they are a good fit for you too. So that's another great way to figure out names and figure out connections that way. And don't limit yourself to just the industry or the industry people that you constantly see. I know sometimes we think that is it, when our Instagram feed is it. Like there's nobody else beyond the Instagram feed of ours. Whereas the world is global, entrepreneurship is global, and it supersedes all types of boundaries. And so don't limit yourself. And with the advent of, Zoom meetings and all of these like Google Meets and all this stuff, you can meet somebody in a different time zone across the world and have a beautiful conversation with them. And I say that out of experience. I don't just say that to say it, because I've had some guests on my podcast from literally all parts of the world. And it is so phenomenal to me and such a blessing as well. So make sure you do your research. You are researching who you want or what you want, whether you want to be on that, a group of people as a speaker, whether you want someone to be in your conference or on your podcast as a speaker, but do your research, find them, and then figure out who they are, what they stand for, who their audience is, and what kind of an audience they appeal to, and what kind of education they give or types of education that they're looking for. And so once you've done that, you look at number 2 is the alignment. This is very important. Alignment is that you fit well. It's a good fit, whether that is a puzzle piece fit or whether that is a parallel fit, but it fits well, because you don't always have to agree on everything. Your values don't all have to be exactly the same. But what happens is that if you are trying to pitch to a conference and you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to pitch just because I want to get a speaking gig under my belt, but there's nothing that really resonates with you in that conference. There's nothing that really connects you to that conference. A, they might say no to you, or B, once you do it, it may not be fulfilling because you realize that this just wasn't a good fit. And so how do you figure out good fits? Good fits is, well, it comes from the research stage also, because you're researching who their audience is, what kind of a community they're building, what kind of education they're giving, if they're even looking for people or not. The worst is when you pitch to a podcast to be a guest and the podcast does not even have guests on their podcast. You've clearly not done your research. And that is such a turnoff. Like, it irks me when I get emails or DMs and they're telling me to, turn my side hustle into a full-time job. And I'm just like, do you even know me? Do you know what I do that you're just sending me this? Clearly, this is my full time. Clearly, this is not a side hustle. And clearly, you have done zero research. So why would I say, okay, let's do this? What is the point of these generic template messages that clearly they're not connecting you to the person that you're trying to connect with? So don't be so generic in that. Be more intentional behind it. And intentionality comes from the research. It comes from the alignment to make sure that your message and your values, your ethos are similar, right? The worst is also to connect yourself to an organization that later on you realize, oh my gosh, it's one thing to not have the same value system, but it's another thing to know that I'm supporting something that I would never have supported in my life before until I found this out. So it's really important to do your research and to kind of dig in a little bit and understand where the person that you're trying to connect with, where they're going or where they're headed or what they're standing for. And when I say that, I'm not saying that you cannot align yourself with someone who might have opposite value system or may have values that are not necessarily aligned with your values, in the sense like they might hold certain things higher than other things. But it's really important to dig in and to see whether it resonates with you or whether it will cause friction. Because then if it's causing that friction and it's just not aligning with you, then you kind of need to step away and go to something else. And that's probably a better choice.
I hate to interrupt this awesome conversation, but I have to stop and talk with you about the number one thing I'm asked about by entrepreneurs: contracts. They're vital to any business relationship and to protect your business. But I also know that entrepreneurs, especially when you're starting up, money is tight. But I would never want you to compromise on a strong legal foundation. So enter yourcontractbuddy.com, a website created by me with contract templates created and drafted by me and fellow industry partners. They're ready to use and easy to plug in immediately, and they are not restricted to any specific state. So yourcontractbuddy.com is sponsoring this episode, and you and your listener can get 10% off right now with code LawChat. Yes, you heard me right. 10% off right now with code LawChat. And now back to our awesome conversation.
Another thing to look for in alignment is, are they looking for a message like yours? Are they looking for somebody like you? Whatever services or offers or messages that you have to give, their education that you're providing, are they looking for somebody like you? And if they are, amazing, put yourself in there, add yourself in there, send out a pitch and tell them why you are the perfect fit. But there are times when they may not be looking for someone specifically like you. And what I mean by that is, of course, the education or the message that you're trying to share. They may not be looking for someone specific with that purpose or in that intent. Don't let that hold you and stop you. Don't let that be a bar for you to ask, because unless you ask, you won't know the answer. So don't assume their answers, but instead make a space for yourself. Make a space where you show them why you are necessary, why your message is important, and how you will impact their audience. So they may not have ever had someone like you as an educator before, but that doesn't mean you can't be an educator. So what that goes back to is, what is their message? What is their purpose, their mission? And so look at that conference's mission, or that podcast's mission, or the educator community's mission, and see if your mission and their mission can align. If you can pick something out of that mission and say, you know what, this is how I can impact you and get your mission across also, and really serve the same purpose that you are wanting to serve to your community. So don't allow yourself to not move forward or make that pitch because you think, oh, well, they've never had a lawyer on there before. Why would they want me now? You have a story to share. You have something unique to share. And so have that ready to go to share also. And that kind of takes me to number 3, and that is the message that you're trying to send. Not just the pitch. The pitch is there, but what is the message that you will be delivering? And have yourself maybe 3 or 4 topics that you can basically have an outline for, and where you can copy paste for the most part and put it in there. Because quite frankly, those are going to be your go-to topics. 1 or 2 will be your evergreen topics, and then 3, 4 might be your topics that can alternate at times. And so evergreen topics are like your basic topics that you can literally talk about when you're sleeping even. And so you want to have those topics ready to go. And then you want to also have a couple topics that you can kind of switch around and adapt to not just the audience that you might be speaking to, or, the message that might be delivered in that conference or the podcast, but also the message that is going on with the current climate and the current situation. So for example, for me, maybe one of my evergreen topics might be the essentials of a contract. Like, hands down, evergreen, always go to. I can talk about it day in and day out. But then something that is more relevant, but essential, but relevant in today's climate, and may not be relevant maybe 6 years from now, hopefully, God willingly, is maybe how to handle reschedules and cancellations during COVID time. What do you do? So that can easily be transferred into a different topic with similar grounding for me. And that would be how to handle contracts during a crisis situation. So I'm kind of using the same content that I've already created, but delivering it with a different subject line. And so that way I can turn this pretty particular topic for the season that we're in into a more evergreen topic for other seasons for the future. And so have those topics kind of ready to go. Write them down. Have your group of friends or a coach look at it and tell you, this is great. This is where I would tweak it. This is where I would make the message more concise, more crisp. So that way people also understand what you're sharing, why it's important, the content that you're sharing, how it will impact the person that is listening to it, and who it impacts. So that way there's no confusion and they know exactly kind of like what you're about to pitch. They also have an understanding of where the direction of your topic might be as well. And know that your topic does not necessarily have to be educational based only. It can be inspirational too. It can be about, say, someone like me who I took 6 years off. And then I built a business from ground up. How did that happen? How do people do that? And so topics can be also of inspiration, of lifestyle, of also how to do something in a business on a bigger zoom out topic rather than a very focused topic in whatever, expertise that you are providing. So for me, the expertise would be a lot of legal analysis, legal education, or even business education. But then a zoom out would be the more inspirational, motivational topics of you can do it all. You can be a mom, you can be a CEO, you can be a lawyer, and you can be a wife, you can be a sister, you can be so many things. And so that would be my motivational conversation, right? Or so many other things that you might have had challenges in or unique experiences that nobody else has had or very few people have had. And so those unique experiences become opportunities for you to enrich other people's lives in a way that they look at you as hope and they look at you as promising future. So don't think that only you can talk about the educational side of your business or your gifts, but there's so much more that you can talk about. So think outside the box. That's what I mean. And start jotting down different type of topics that you can talk about. And then it goes to the pitch, number 4. So the pitch is really important to me. And the reason is because the pitch is essentially taking 1 through 3 and putting it together in a beautiful package and delivering it. And the reason is that 1 to 3 is done is so you can deliver a package that is intentional, that is customized, and that is personalized. Now, with all of that, that doesn't mean that you can't have some templates sitting around, because everybody should have some templates sitting around, because that's what makes your operation smooth. So like that, I have some templates that I have for my pitches, but inside each template, there's a space for personalization. There's a space for me to tell my recipient why they're important to me and why I think that what they're doing is amazing, how they have enriched my life, but how I will be also enriching their life and their community. And this is the way we align with each other, or this is how we will be a good fit for each other. And so what happens is that you're able to really give a more wholesome pitch to your recipient rather than a very dry, generic pitch, which will basically make them want to say, next, delete. Or they'll say something like, oh my gosh, that was the nicest thing I've heard today. Thank you so much. I would love to connect with you. And that's the kind of answer you want. And the reason is because when you show somebody that you're interested in them, you've gotten their attention. You have gripped that attention that was probably lost 5 emails ago in their inbox that is now getting buried by emails, or whether that's a DM inbox or their email inbox. So you want to stand out. And so standing out is personalization. Standing out is showing interest and intentionality to your recipient. And I think it is so important, whether you are pitching yourself to be an educator or a speaker or a guest somewhere, or whether you're even pitching yourself to be like an employee somewhere. I don't care if it's an independent contractor. I don't care if it's an employee. Research and make it personalized. Show them that you have studied them. Show them that you are interested in their business. Show them that you know what their business is about, and show them how they have impacted you or motivated you or inspired you, and how you can in turn give them that motivation, inspiration, and impact the way they want to give to their community, and how you would be such a beautiful asset to that. And I think that would be so much more impactful. Like it makes you stop, it makes you read, and it makes you deliberate. And then it makes you also reply. I can't tell you how many emails I have received from my pitches that I have made from people saying, wow, that was so nice. Thank you so much for speaking so kindly about me. Or I can't believe I made that impact. I love hearing that. And the thing is that it's true, it's genuine. I do not want to say something that's not genuine. And so I make it where if they were to follow that up with me, I can have that conversation because it's coming from a place of research. It's coming from a place of where I have spent time and invested time to know what I'm saying to be true and what I'm saying can be backed up with my own words in person as well. And so that is super, super important. And then, of course, this is my subject line. Subject line is where you're going to kind of grip them again. Don't make it generic. Make it something where it stops them. Make it something where they want to click on it. Because that subject line can be so generic as be my guest. And they're like, okay, I've gotten that like 1,000 times. So make it a little bit more personalized, whether it includes your pitch or a pitch for a conference, something. Make it where it's something that will grip their eyes, that it will cause attention, and it'll make them want to also click and say, okay, that sounds like a plan. And number 5 is follow up. So whether you get a yes, a no, no response. So yes, no, or no response, follow up. Follow up with either a thank you, this is wonderful, please stay tuned, or for my other emails that you'll be getting because you said yes, or no, oh, I'm sorry, but you know what, I'm going to connect with you maybe in a couple months and maybe we can revisit this. And then put it into a email category or, a folder in your emails where it says, collaborations to revisit. The way I've delegated my emails where I have collaborations that have been absolutely declined, where I'm just like, you know what, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with the declining. I'm okay actually, because I really didn't know if this aligned with me. And I guess I really now in retrospect think it doesn't. So it's declined. We're done. We're not going to move forward on that. Then I have collaborations that have been accepted. Then I have or scheduled. And then I have collaborations that I have to revisit. And usually that revisit will happen in 2 to 3 months where I will reach back. I will turn around and just circle back with them and say, hey, I know we talked about this a couple months ago, but I just wanted to touch base with you and say hi. And maybe acknowledge something that they're doing, admire something that they're doing, and just say, hey, I know that this is coming up. I'd love to, be considered to be a guest speaker or an educator. Let me know. So that way you're on their mind. That way you're not completely, out of sight, out of mind with them. And that way you've connected with them again on something more personal, something where they're like, wow, this person actually recognized me again. This is amazing. And so that way you're on their mind. And then, of course, the people that haven't answered, same thing. I would keep them in maybe, reassess. This is something that I want to move forward with. And if it is, then yeah, put them in the list of collaborations to revisit. That way you are not confused and you know exactly where to go in the next 2 months, who to reach out to, how to reach out to them. And so you are kind of have a system and a process in place, right? And that's what we want when we are trying to pitch for conferences as educators or as, or pitch for being as a guest on a podcast or have somebody else be on our podcast or be a guest in our summits or in our virtual summits or in our conferences. So these are just some of the tips. So number 1, research, go onto the social medias, go onto Google, and research the companies and the conferences that you would want to pitch to, or you would love for them to be a guest on your podcast or conference. Number 2, alignment. How are the values? How is the mission statement? Does it sit well with you? Does what their purpose is sit well with you as well? And how can you impact that purpose? And how can you enrich that purpose as well? The content, the topics. Figure out the topics that you want to talk about. Figure out the topics that you can talk about. Evergreen topics that can kind of easily get evolved into a new subject line, but same content topic as well. And then number 4, pitch. Have your templates ready, but have a section of that template that is for personalization and customization. because you want them to know why they matter. And you also want them to know that you know them. You're not just sending out generic templates, but you're really invested in them and you think they're amazing and why your collaboration will be amazing with them. The number 5 is the follow-up. Whether it's a yes, no, or maybe so, follow it up and know that you have a system in place for the follow-up. You have a system in place where you know this is just not going to happen. I'm going to revisit or scheduled. Awesome. That way you're organized and your pitches are organized too. Some other organizational tips out there also are we like to use Google Docs. So we use Excel sheet and we're able to kind of keep an eye on the pitches, an eye on what, if anything, we refer to in the pitch, whether it's a podcast or whether it's their appearance somewhere or whatever. So that way we know what we refer to in the pitch itself. And then also the date that it was sent out and the date we got a response, if we got a response, and then what was the result of that. So that way you kind of know what's going on. You can kind of do your own metrics also, right? Well, these were some quick tips on pitching to a conference, whether you're an educator or whether you're a guest or whether you want somebody for your own conference or your podcast as well. If you have any comments, please leave them down there. And of course, I always have a 5-day legal challenge. So the link is there. It's an audit and you get tons of material. I mean, so much material for your own business, things that it would cost so much to do if a lawyer had come in and done it. Well, you can actually do a self-assessment first and then kind of really see the healthiness of the legal aspect of your business. So click and get your legal audit. And it's easy, digestible, and it happens throughout 5 days. But of course, you do it on your own pace at the end of the day, right? So go get that, grab that for yourself. And also we have the 1-year anniversary coming up, which is going to be in September. So we have some really fun things set up for that. So stay tuned to the podcast. And if you're not on the listserv, if you're not on the email listserv for GBP Law, get on it because I will be giving out special things to my email subscribers and also earlier access to my email subscribers. So if you're not there, click in the link below and get on that email list as well, because you're going to get some amazing stuff. Okay. Well, with that being said, thank you so much. This was helpful. This was awesome. Subscribe to it, follow it on podcast and subscribe to it on YouTube because you're going to get, again, mentorship through storytelling and lots of tips along the way. Good luck to you, and I will see you next week.
Thank you so much for joining Law Chat with Girija. I love these kind of stories and conversations where we can be real, honest, and open, and having fun at the same time. I hope you are inspired and motivated to keep doing the amazing work you are doing. If this is something that gave you all those feels and then some, truly motivated and inspired for you, you can show your love in all or one of these ways. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and share this video with your community and tell them about it or share with somebody that can benefit from it. I look forward to seeing you next time on another episode of Law Chat, and until then, keep moving forward. Bye.